Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Better Call Saul discussion video. Today we're going to be getting into big spoilers, so if you haven't seen the finale, click off now or just watch it anyway. Today I have three special guests, all from the Filmbusters podcast. First of all, we have Filmbusters Paul.
Hello everyone, I'm Paul.
Filmbusters Adam.
Hello there.
And we also have Filmbusters Ben.
Hi again everyone, good to be here again.
Yes, I don't know why I keep saying Filmbusters, it's like it's your first name, all of you.
It's our Twitter handles.
It is, that's
intrinsically linked to us.
Exactly. But yeah, they're part of the Filmbusters podcast. There'll be links for that in the description below, so check that out. We actually did just do a El Camino episode last week, so that's a brand new podcast. So if you're into Breaking Bad stuff, which I'm sure you are, you can also go check that out.
Yes, you can.
Amazing. It was a great app.
It was a great app. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. On the last discussion video, I opened up by saying, is the show better than Breaking Bad? But I'm going to save that till the end. So I'm going to get your answers for that at the end. So have a think about that. And let us know in the comments down below as well if you think Better Call Saul was better than Breaking Bad. But to start us off with something else, I want to get your initial thoughts to the finale in 5 words or less. So I will start with you, Adam, as you're furthest on my screen.
That counts as one word.
Yeah, there we go. That's it. That's one done.
Regret, redemption.
You didn't think about this.
You've had an hour to prepare this.
I know. Paying the consequences. That's all. Yeah.
I've got to say, what an absolutely beautiful journey.
Okay. And Ben?
I've gone all wanky pretentious.
Mm-hmm.
I've said bittersweet, tragic, and hauntingly beautiful.
Aww.
Is that not 6? Is bittersweet one word?
Bittersweet.
Is that one word?
Come on, let's find out. Oh dear.
I was counting then. I was like,
Bittersweet Symphony.
It's got a hyphen. Is it one word?
Well, Bittersweet Symphony does it 2 words, but then if you go in the lyrics, it's all 1 word.
Okay. So we'll allow it.
Wow.
I think bittersweet is...
Will the judges allow it?
Yeah, we'll let it pass. Bittersweet is definitely accurate, and that's how I felt. My 5 words were, oh God, I'm crying again. Because that just, honestly, so many episodes in this finale, I just was like, oh, I need to cry after that.
This show hits you emotionally so much, doesn't it?
Okay, so let's just jump right into the finale. I wanted to raise something that I kind of seen a few comments comparing it to the finale of Breaking Bad. And a lot of people are saying there wasn't the same level of fireworks that Breaking Bad had, which for me personally, I don't think is an issue.
I don't think it was needed. It never went that way throughout the whole show. So why would it go that way at the finale? Like there was explosions throughout Breaking Bad. Like we said I think we said in the last one, the drama doesn't come from all big explosions and big deaths. It comes from like character developments and like breakups. And
I agree. It never really was the tone of this show. And obviously, we all know it's like intrinsically linked to Breaking Bad. So we'll obviously have that bleeding through with some of the more elaborate action. But this was a perfect ending for this show, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been a shocker if there'd been some really violent, brutal outburst in it in some way, shape or form. I did think they were potentially going to go that way because I thought they're going to kill this guy. Then he's not just going to get away with it all at the end. I didn't see him having to face justice. But, of course, that was the only answer for him. And I think just to connect with it, maybe this will go on to a point that you're going to say, I think it's why, for me personally, the introduction of Walt and Jesse in it didn't work.
Okay.
Their joint scene didn't work because it felt like they were trying to go, and here's your Breaking Bad moment in Better Call Saul, and it's like, it ain't that show. And it sticks out like a sore thumb for me.
I feel like you can't have the ending. And I think the writers were saying this all the time. You can't have Better Call Saul without Walt and Jesse showing up at some point. I do think the inclusion of Jesse and Walt alone in their own standalone scenes was so much better, though. I have to agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing about the Walt and Jesse scenes is that from the beginning of watching Better Call Saul, we knew that, oh my God, one day they're going to actually appear. Yeah. And it's almost like we were waiting for it to happen. And then by the time we got it, it was at the downfall of Saul, right? So we think it's going to be an exciting moment, and it just wasn't. It really was like a downer.
That's exactly what it is, because up until a certain point, you're like, this is exciting. When he's going to become Saul, this is exciting. And then when he does, it's so fucking bleak and depressing that you're like, don't remind me of them, in a way.
That is part of the tragedy, right? Because this, and I think Ray Seahorn said it is like a Shakespearean tragedy, Jimmy and Kim's relationship, which I think is very true. But it's, once you get there and we got what we wanted and we saw Saul, I think the whole audience all realised that this isn't as fun and crazy and wacky as we all thought it was. It's so tragic and bleak, as you say.
You'd cry at this and you probably wouldn't cry at Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch Breaking Bad now that we know who Saul is, really. Because, he is just this broken person, right? But also just an irredeemable arsehole as well, which is tough to deal with.
100%. Seeing him sign the divorce papers, man, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, you've turned this way. That was the moment where it changed, right? You were backing this guy this whole series. And then it's like, man, I don't like this guy anymore.
No.
That was one of the moments where I was like, oh God, I'm crying again. So
what have you done?
I know, Jimmy. On that note though, and like Jimmy becoming irredeemable in his actions, the ending, right? I think it's all about him atoning for what he's done and owning up, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he redeemed himself, and do you think he learned and grew?
Yeah, I think he is. That's it now. Like, I feel like he wanted to punish himself rather than he needed to punish himself.
But can you like as a viewer forgive him, or do you think he's still,
I mean, I still quite like him as a person, but he should be in jail.
I think it said it all, not liking him from the divorce episode. And then from the end I was like, oh man, he turned it back round. I like this guy again.
Yeah.
But you know how he did it was, it didn't, look, he had to be boxed into a corner. He didn't do it after his conversation with Kim. He didn't do it when the police caught him and had him in that room, and he did that whole speech, which he was like, I only need to get one jury member to believe that.
Yeah.
He still wasn't doing it. It was only after the, the defense, the other side's solicitors said to him, oh, he thinks he can hand us the Hamlin thing.
Yeah.
You don't realise Kim Wexler walked in, and then he realised, fuck, she owned up to it. She owned up to her mistakes. That put him to shame, and that made him do it. So the only thing that redeems him for me is that he wants to be a better person for her. He doesn't want to be a better person. He just wants to be a better person for her.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like the whole series, Kim was the joy of his life, and by the time it gets to the end of his Better Call Saul run and he comes into the black and white, that it's been drained from him. The colour of his life's been drained. That's what I see it as. And that last final shot of the cigarette is just basically, this is the last bit of joy I have when she comes and visits me.
Yeah, definitely. That was beautiful, wasn't it? That was, Ben, you said you particularly liked that moment, right?
It's the best moment, I think, in the entire show for me, because when it happened, I didn't well up at any point in Better Call Saul, but if there was a emotional moment for me, it was that, because it just signified so much, and it was like, oh fuck, this is heartbreaking. However, can I ask you, when he said, oh, I've got something big on the plane, when he was like, I've got something big, there's something you don't know about Hamlin, and then Kim's working in that office, and that whoever it is calls her up and says, Saul has said blah blah blah, and you don't hear what's being said, but you see her reaction to it, forcing her to come to his court hearing. How does that sit with you guys? Like, okay, he wanted her to have a front row seat to his retribution story, but he dragged her ass across the country, forced her to sit there just so that he could say, I'm sorry. I don't know 100% how comfortable I feel with her sitting there kind of nodding, smiling, well done, Jimmy. I think there would have been a little bit of resentment of fuck you for putting me through that.
I think deep down she cherishes those moments she had, and she does care about him. And you're right, he is very manipulative in how he gets her down there. But I guess he, like you say, he's trying to become better, and it is all for her. And for me, I think the moment she realizes that he's changing is when he owns up to the Chuck thing, because there was that whole sort of thread in season 4 or 3, I can't remember which season, where Jimmy was just not dealing with Chuck's death, and Kim was kind of worried about it, and he kept just suppressing it. And there was that whole bar hearing where she was like, oh, what did you say about Chuck? And he says, what do you mean what did I say about Chuck? I didn't say anything. And that's why he didn't get his license re-invoked right away. So I think she knew, she took that when he mentions Chuck again and he owns up to it. I think she finally realizes that he is changing and he has learned, and that's like enough for her, despite everything that's happened.
As well, if anything, I don't see that Kim's trying to move on with her life. She's pretty much punishing herself being in the life we are. It's the most bog standard. I think it was so perfect the way they portrayed that. It was like, this is my life. She's living my life right now. This is bog standard life where they're just chatting around, eating their lunch, talking about the filling they put in their sandwiches.
Yeah.
And she's punishing herself there. And the moment she gives the testimony, that is her trying to move past it. And I think getting her to come down to that final hearing is her. It's the final thing, saying this is it now. I'm trying to wash everyone's hands of this now. This is the end. You can move on from here.
I feel like the both of them needed closure as well, because all we know is that they left. He got the divorce papers. He made that call to her, and she rejected him on the call. So I feel like he probably just wanted the closure more than anything. It was
his last chance to potentially see her. If he was going away for the rest of his life, that might be the last time he saw her. I think, in hindsight, I'm only just thinking about this now, I might have liked if he was looking back in the courtroom to an empty seat, that should have been Kim sitting there, so that when she actually appears as his visitor at the end, it might have hit more. Because Kim says nothing in that courtroom scene. She just sort of smiles and...
That would have been very powerful, actually, because you'd be left thinking, oh, she's not bought it, and Jimmy's looking sad. And then, when she would turn up, maybe you'd think, oh, she's had time to think about this. She's accepted his apology, sort of thing.
So sometimes I have this conversation about whether or not we are good people because we know we should be good people, or because the people around us won't love us or want to be around us if we don't act a certain way. Like, we all learn to have a moral compass and ethics based on the way we're raised and the people around us. But if all those people have turned their back on you for one reason or another, or aren't around, do you still be a good person for the sake of it, or is it for other people? I actually think it is for other people.
Yeah, God. Well, it comes down to
philosophy, man.
It is. No, but I think a lot of the problems with Jimmy is, like, does it stem from nature or nurture? And it's kind of similar, right? Is Jimmy a product of everything that happened to him and his dad in the petrol station, and Chuck, who was stopping his journey, and Kim encouraging him, and all these things?
I guess it's just that he is a flawed person, right? He is a flawed person. He doesn't have a complete redemption, but that's okay. He isn't just, he did it in a completely selfless way. It was like, I did it for her to be seen by her one more time, to know that she in some way forgives me. That's the only way I can live with myself.
Yeah, and let's remember as well, he does pay a big price. He's got 86 years. I mean, he might get out on good behavior, but he could have had 7 years, right? And it was kind of that last flourish of Saul Goodman, where he was working the court down. He knows the court on like the back of his hand, and he worked it down to 7 years.
He was showing off. He still had it.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Even in that situation, he was able to show his peacock feathers and put on a show.
But ultimately, he gave it up because of Kim.
Man, I just thought of this, right? I just got to say it now.
Go on.
This is fucking beautiful, right? So the episode where he's taking all the cinnamon buns to the security guards, and he's got that elaborate plan to steal all the pricey products in the store. It got to the end of the episode, and he goes to a very elaborate shirt, and he almost goes to take it, but he doesn't. And at the time, I was like, man, it would be so fucking beautiful if it was just in colour, that one shirt, and he decides not to take it, because that was the joy in his life. That's what I saw, right? But now, coming to the end of the show, I'm like, fuck, man, that wasn't. The joy was fucking Kim, and that is what's been stripped from him.
Wow.
And I think that's fucking great.
Well, it's also the power, because if you steal the Breaking Bad bits are still in colour, then he's obviously enjoying that. It's him fucking around.
Yeah, but
this
is a solo piece of art. This series, isn't it? You can't bring the Breaking Bad into the.
No, I mean like the bits when you're in Breaking Bad in this.
Oh right,
hang on. Is that what happened? Were the flashbacks to Breaking Bad in colour? They were.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Like the bit when he's signing the divorce papers, that's during Breaking Bad, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's a very beautiful reading, and almost I could be on board with that being the idea. Jimmy didn't truly know what made him happy, and he was putting on this mask the whole time as Saul Goodman. And yeah, he in this Gene timeline where it's all bleak and he's lost everything. You're right. He holds it up and he thinks that's what I loved, but in actuality, the second, well, we see the commercials in his glasses, but Other than that, it's the cigarette, right? Like we said earlier. So I can totally buy that. That's truly what made him happy.
Without question. How did you guys feel about the fact that we didn't, despite all the ways we were talking about how it might happen, we didn't actually get that direct lead into, and this is how he became Saul. We just got that Kim leaving, bang, him waking up with a prostitute. Because he goes from being in that apartment to suddenly being in that fucking huge, opulent, gaudy mansion.
Yeah.
And we never saw that bit, which I don't think we need it.
No.
But there is a period there which we are not getting the final transition over.
Well, we spoke about this at the time, and I think it was such a brilliant decision, and it was so jarring and shocking to just see that bed turn, and you see the comb over.
Horrible.
And yeah, it was a horrible comb over. But also the moment, it physically made me just feel, I don't know, I don't want to say sick, but it was like, wow.
No, it is like repulsion, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was so effective because the last thing you see before that is Jimmy breaking up with Kim. And I think that's enough to know that was the last straw that broke the camel's back in Jimmy becoming Saul. And there were so many things, but that was it.
I don't think it was even that, because if she sent him the divorce papers when he was full Saul with his full office in his clothes, it must have been a matter of weeks.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. I think we didn't need to see Jimmy crying and buying his first flashy suit and changing the office and setting up the inflatable. It was just bam, we're here. And it was almost like, in a blink of an eye, and it was so shocking and so powerful, I thought.
I feel like it's the same as that Walt and Jesse thing, where you think it's going to be so fun getting back to those times again. And when I started watching the episode, I was like, oh my God, we're here. We're actually here. We're finally here. And I was really excited about it. And then you realise, man, this is fucking depressing. This is just depressing stuff.
I've seen so many comments saying, how did they take the comic relief, goofy character and make him this like multifaceted, complex human character? And when you think about it, it's insane. Such incredible writing. It's so good.
But not only doing that for Saul, they managed to, in the final scene for Gus Fring, add a layer that he isn't just a robot, but in just one scene, they give us a whole fucking layer.
Was his final scene the one in the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was your reading of the final Gus scene? Because when I first watched it, I wasn't 100% sure what was happening. It was only kind of after thinking about it.
My reading on it at first was, this is him playing. He still needs to have a little bit of himself that he saves for play, and I think there was an element of that. But the longer it went on, and the more focus on wine and on him drinking, that final shot of him sipping that wine, putting it down, and going stony faced, for me, that's, well, this is how I'm going to kill them later. Brainwave, just like we saw earlier in season 6 when he talks about the spice curls to a customer and suddenly snaps off to the side. I love those moments, by the way, when he's playing the role of the public face of Gus Fring and then just snaps. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
In that moment, I think it was, okay, this is how I will kill them. But also, I can never have that normal life. This man is not coming home with me.
Yeah, because there was definitely romantic intentions there, wasn't there?
He was playful. He was like a coquettish schoolgirl with this guy
almost
in
the parts
there.
though he can't get enjoyment out of that. Like the enjoyment in his life is coming now from running his empire and killing people.
He's become more consumed, right?
Once he's got that, that's it. He's gone. It's like he used to enjoy that. That used to be him.
That's a lot of things, isn't it? Like there's a lot of things about joy, like the joy we find in life, and that did feel like this is the one slice of joy he's got, that he comes to this bar, talks to this man about the wines they've been drinking. Oh, I found this really nice one, and he's like, he uncorked it just for him because he obviously comes in there all the time, and it's like, man, but you're living this double life. It's like you're not going to be happy in the end.
Yeah, and you're right. It's so sad, and again, it's taking a character we knew from Breaking Bad and adding so many layers. And it's tragic, and it's funny to think of Gus as a tragic character. He kind of becomes so all obsessed and all encompassed by vengeance over the death of his friend Max by Hector Salamanca, and his just obsessed with vengeance on the Salamancas, and it consumes his life and ultimately becomes his downfall, I guess. But I guess it is because Hector kills him, right?
I know. That's the bit that is deeply unsettling, because it's like the Salamancas still beat him in the end.
Oh, gosh.
With the fucking help of Walter
Well, they
White.
both lost, though, didn't they? Because all the he was the last Salamanca, wasn't he, Hector?
I know, but at least he took him down.
To destroy himself.
Yeah. if Lalo was watching from his grave, he'd be like, "We got the last laugh."
They got bloody beat by a chemistry teacher, like middle-aged chemistry teacher. We'll jump into the Lalo Gus story briefly, and Mike. That for me, I don't know what episodes it was. It was the first 3 after the break. That for me was the Breaking Bad ending. Not in terms of what happened, but more in terms of the flair and the fireworks, because that was so intense and on the edge of your seat, heart racing, incredibly exciting. And like I say, the ending of the show was so much more measured and slow and about relationships and emotion. But that ending for them was so exciting. And actually, Ben, you called it. You said in the last discussion that
literally shot to shot, face to face.
Yeah. So Ben predicted that, or he paced out and he put the gun and he was going to lead Lalo down there and then shoot him, and that's exactly what happened.
But you know what? The one thing that was upsetting about that moment when I watched it was, as it was happening, I was going, "Oh yeah, this is what I thought was going to happen." But I was super confused. And we rewatched that scene several times.
I was confused.
Why? Go on. Why were you confused?
Because I was like, for one, I was like, oh shit, there's no bullets in his gun or something. Or like he didn't shoot him.
Exactly. It looks like Gus is shooting at Lalo and he's not hitting.
Okay.
It's the way it's shot in that scene.
Maybe it's just after the Alec Baldwin incident and they did not want to aim any gun at anyone.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've rewatched that scene, so I don't fully remember. But I guess it could be just to create a bit of suspense, right? Like, because it's a point.
Double bluff.
The episode's point and shoot, right? So the whole idea is, I mean, there's multi layers to that, but they're pointing and shooting in the dark, and I guess it's who survived. I guess, well, you'll know who survives, right? Because Gus isn't going to die. But I guess it just adds a little bit of drama, and then you finally see him dying. But speaking of deaths, right, we spoke last time about Nacho's death and Howard's. Lalo's death, when he's covered, he's got the blood in his mouth, and he has that one final laugh, and he kind of he looks at Gus, and for me that was like, you son of a bitch. Like, even in his death, it felt so right for his character, and he's like, yeah, you got the best of me, like, well done, like, see you in hell, sort of thing.
It was very, very clever and bold of Vince Gilligan to create a villain that could go toe-to-toe with Gus Fring.
Absolutely.
And the complete opposite. Every villain's completely different.
And I just want to say as well that when they're finally buried underneath the lab...
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
It's so fucking sad seeing Lalo next to Howard, and it's like this ultimate evil versus ultimate innocence. Like, it's so fucking sad.
It's like, the law, either sides of the law just being buried against each other.
Parallels.
In this world, everyone's equal. Like, you get buried in the same shit.
Yeah, it is, because you're right, the whole show, there's the separate sides. You've got the law side, and even in the promotional posters, a lot of the time for the seasons, they would be split off into their own sides, and it is that final meteoric crash of these two worlds coming together, and the almost like poetic irony of seeing Howard buried next to Lalo, and especially that we know the events of Breaking Bad and all this stuff happens and they were buried underneath. It's like, how did they come up with this? Like, who like the twisted minds of Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan.
I saw something that said, I don't think it would hold up. It certainly wouldn't hold up scientifically, but like that episode of Breaking Bad, which a lot of people don't like, but I love, called The Fly. When there's that fly flying around in there, it's just because obviously there's two decomposing bodies under the ground. But it's like they're under a lot of concrete and stuff. I'm pretty sure the flies ain't smelling blood.
I do like that idea, though.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
That does bring us nicely onto Mike, though, because there is that lovely, I guess it's not lovely, but Mike takes Howard's shoes off and he takes his wallet and his wedding ring, and he genuinely looks remorseful about what's happened to Paul Howard, because we know how Mike feels about innocent people getting caught in the crossfire who aren't in the game. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about Mike's final arc and his final ending. So that final meeting with Nacho's dad was just like gut-wrenching, because Mike says there will be justice. The Salamancas have what's coming to them. And Nacho's dad laughs and says, you gangsters, you all think, I can't remember specifically, but he's something along the lines of, you all think there's justice, but it never ends, it keeps going.
And he just leaves Mike on the other side of that. Great, that cage, left alone like a dog.
Yeah, even though his dad's the one who's like penned in, it's the cage is over Mike, isn't it? Mike's the one who's on the outside and technically free, but
yeah, like the visual storytelling of that is
surrounded by the railings.
Yeah, so brilliant.
I think that's what's great about Mike. He he's always think like, I'm the one making the right decision in every situation and playing the right cards. He wants to think he's the good guy, but it's like, man, you're all still with the wrong crowd. You're still a gangster as much as they are.
He's the good guy in a bad crowd.
Yeah.
He's a bad son of a... He knows it. That the final scene in the whole show that we get, which is that flashback to the desert, when Jimmy or Saul asks him, if you had a time machine, where would you go back to? And he's like, the year I took my first bribe. It just goes to show that he is filled with regret. He's like, I wish I'd never did it. It's the whole career path.
The beautiful thing as well is he says a date first, which I'm assuming is his granddaughter's birth.
Yeah, it's 2001, as he said.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is the granddaughter's birth.
Nice.
And I was like, that's pretty sweet.
Nice.
He wants to go to his granddaughter, but he's like, no. Let me change. If I change something, then everything will still play out. My granddaughter will still be born, but I'll be a better guy, kind of
That's
thing.
nice, yeah.
He comes across as genuinely remorseful about that day that put him on a bad choice road, right? He says to Jimmy about bad choice road, and he takes that bribe, and it changed his life forever. And he's genuinely remorseful, I think. And it's also, I kind of feel really bad. I guess he has what's coming to him, but this confession that Kim gives, Mike's name is all over it, and I guess maybe the world knows, but his granddaughter's gonna, grow up thinking,
shit, yeah,
my granddad was a piece of shit, and he loved her so much.
Fuck, I never even thought about that. That is horrible.
Yeah.
Well, the last time he ever sees her in Breaking Bad, he leaves her in the park, doesn't he?
But it's just sad because he obviously cares about her so much. I know it's just a character, right? But
yeah, no, that's true.
He loves his daughter and his granddaughter, for his son, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But ultimately, his name is across all these heinous crimes and deaths and drug empires, and it's just, it's a bit upsetting.
That is probably the saddest thing out of
all he ever tried to do was get money to her, wasn't it? He just keeps sending her money.
That's what he says, but again, I don't know. It's this whole thing where everyone's obsessed with getting money, but is that really the true reason? Because it's like when Jimmy and Kim break up, she has that line similar to Walt does in the Breaking Bad finale, where she says, like, the real reason I did it was because I was having so much fun, and then she, bursts out crying. So I don't know why Mike was truly doing it.
I can't see him being driven financially for himself at any point. It can only have been once upon a time he was driven financially for himself. His son died. It all changed for him in that moment, and it was, I need to provide for my granddaughter.
Personal as well.
He had a grudge against the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
As well.
He's never happy or smiling at any point with any of the work that they do.
Yeah, he's doing a job, and that's the end of it. That's what he always says.
He's the consummate professional.
Yeah.
And the MVP in Better Call Saul.
Do you think?
Show overall for me. Yeah, 100%.
Not even Kim.
Oh, she was wonderful. She was probably second. But I think I was just totally not expecting us to get so much Mike when we started watching Better Call Saul. I don't think we maybe knew Mike was in it. I can't even remember, but I don't think any of us expected to get as much Mike as we did. Like, for large periods of the show's history, half of it was dedicated to Mike and Gus, and the other half was Jimmy.
Another, I guess, ending for Mike is so morbid. It's when Kim goes to the courthouse, whatever it is, the police station where Mike used to work. And instead of a parking attendant...
the robot.
Instead of operating the parking attendant gate, there's just an automated machine, and it's... That's so... God, that's horrible. Yeah. It's kind of like his kind of, are being replaced slowly. Yeah. He's like a dinosaur, right?
Do you dislike Walt more for killing Mike now? After growing to love him that bit more.
Well, I think I just hate Walt in general, because you see how much work goes into building this operation, this meth operation, and it's shady, but so many people died. Howard died, and they went through all this stuff to get Laulo out the picture. Werner died. Mike had to kill Werner, and it's all working like clockwork, as Mike says to Walt, and his bloody ego gets in the way and destroys everything. It's just
an ego, though, that Saul confesses to creating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think he like fuels it, right? Because
it's just mad. It's over 18 months or 16 months, didn't he say?
Yeah. But I think Walt had that ego, but like Jimmy says, he allowed it to prosper and grow and flourish. Whereas I think he's right in saying that Walt would have been arrested or dead within a month if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, it's true, because that's what Mike tells him in the office, right? He's like, he's small fry, this guy he's not going to last. Don't worry about him. And at the time I was watching that, I thought, when Saul, then it ends with him walking into the school, and I thought, what that is he is seeing another guy that everyone else underestimated, so he just wants to show some faith. But then there's a scene in Breaking Bad which picks up from that moment where he walks in, and it's when he first uncovers Walt as this chemistry teacher, and it plays out. And he's such a dickhead in that scene, and it is all about, I'm going to make you massive. Stick with me, you're going to be huge, and it's completely from personal gain, not like, me and you are not so dissimilar. It's not that kind of thing. It's like, I am going to make you big, and you're going to make me big.